Good morning, and welcome to my forest this morning. Not really my forest, but the forest where I'm walking anyway. Yesterday, we were looking at Canadian taxes, and we noticed something kind of interesting, and that was that they're letting you write off taxes, write off expenses for your home office. But you gotta wonder where they're coming from. Because the home office expenses they're letting you write off are things like shiny paper for your printer, paper clips, highlighters, pencils. But during all this lockdown, people working at home aren't printing a whole lot of stuff. They're probably typing, not writing with pencils and highlighters, and I don't think they mentioned whiteout. But they explicitly say no cameras, no video cameras, no microphones, no lighting, no soft lights, monitors, all the things you need to have a professional Zoom conference. Not to mention cloud storage for transferring large documents and things like that. You would think that through CRA, the government of the day would really want to show Canadians that they actually understood and were paying attention. And this apparently sends exactly the wrong message. Or maybe what they're trying to do is get you to take the easy option where you don't have to document anything and just take the $400 and be done with it, in which case they might do better. Don't know. This is not tax advice, just an observation. And the observation leads into a number of other things. Because what we're looking at isn't back to normal, it's a new normal. They were saying that in the run-up to the Tokyo Olympics, which are ostensibly still on, people doing figure skating and high-end gymnastics are still competing. But the way they're doing it is that they take a video, live stream it, an official has to watch, so they can't do the routine a dozen times and pick the best one. And then the videos are all collected up and the judges watch them in sequence as they normally would. So it's a bit odd because you're performing with a bare handful of people in the facility. Some people have access to facilities, other people don't, for training and for recording. The athletes are saying things like, gee, it's interesting because in a live competition, you see other people. Sometimes it scares you, sometimes it inspires you, but you see the other competitors and you get a sense of how they're being marked. In this, you don't necessarily see the other competitors at all. And you don't know during and around when you're performing anything. You're doing it completely in isolation. So new normal. Some other things. We're getting some reports on births around the world the other day. I think it was Deutsche Welle was quoting a report. I haven't found it yet. But they were saying that overall, most of the industrialized countries have a drop in birth rates of 1% to 2%. But there's a couple of anomalies. I think they were saying that China had a drop of 16%. and that India had an increase of 10%. And that was chalked up to the inaccessibility during the pandemic of birth control. So I have no idea about the truth of this matter yet, but it was broadcast on Deutsche Welle. We're also evidently seeing much higher rates of partner abuse, of divorce. We're seeing also something really big is flying up there. Eagles, ravens, several of them. We were just talking about owls in the forest. We haven't seen many in a little while here, but they do exist, and occasionally they come and steal my toque. That hasn't happened for a while. They've gone after it twice. So what else is changing? So there was an article that was in the Globe and Mail this week talking about stress in marriage under lockdown. You know, how do you make that work? And of course, all sorts of other relationships too. So what I'm wondering is, at an unprecedented level around the world, people are experiencing, to varying degrees, distancing, physical distancing, which has come full circle and sometimes become social distancing. The video conferences that we discussed in an earlier episode psychologically don't actually take the place of all the nuance that you get with in-person connectivity, and certainly doesn't take the place of a hug. But all the body language we read in person doesn't quite work on video conferencing. Sort of, but not really. We're getting there. It's getting better sometimes, sometimes not. But the changes that we have experienced in the last year go deep. It's like we're kind of cooking people for a long time, simmering them over their own coals. And what comes out of this is going to be something different. And I think something that's going to surprise the governments. If the governments aren't paying attention enough to understand that pencils and paper and printers are not our primary means of communication. Oh, and you can write off stamps and envelopes too. Great idea, especially envelopes you have to lick. That's fantastic. Just lick them and send them off, and you know. So if the governments aren't paying enough attention to understand that, how are they going to be paying enough attention to understand the much more subtle and complex outcomes that come from isolating people for a period of a year or more? Definitely more. How are these subtle changes in our perception and behavior going to impact the new normal as we go forward? So, that's my thought for the day. How do these changes impact our new normal going forward? What I'm really interested in is how they impact the new normal going forward in a very positive way. because I think that will happen. Usually does. And how do governments, when they reflect kind of out-of-date stuff back to us via taxes, show that they understand these changes and understand them in a very timely fashion? So that's the thought for the day. Curiosity and creativity matters. I wish you a good day, and I hope that you are well. Bye now.